It is Tuesday, October 7th. If it is Tuesday, and it is, you know, we are ticked off about something around our table. Amy and Rory, they have their list, they're checking it twice, and they are getting ready to sound off. Also on our program today, this international city of ours is a hotbed, unfortunately, for human trafficking. Girls, even some boys, sold into sex. Well, we're going to sit down with a state lawmaker who wants to do something about that. An important discussion today. But we're going to begin with this right here, the big backtrack from CCSD. The superintendent apologizes for the way the rollout went of the sex education overall. This is his letter of apology, went out to everybody. Here's our debate today. Is an apology even necessary? This is a discussion you won't want to miss. Good to see you.
Hi, good. On that list that you
Jeff.
checked twice, are we going to find out if he's naughty? I'm nice, right?
We're going to find.
She's been
both
playing
naughty today. But we've
I'm
got
ready
some
for
interesting
Christmas,
stuff.
too. Let's
get
go.
going. All right.
Live from Studio B, it's What's Your Point? From the right, Amy Tarkanian. From the left, Rory Reed. And your host and moderator, Jeff Gillen.
She's supposed to be ticked off. She sounds happy or something. What's going on around here?
Hold your peak. That's the second block. Well,
okay.
we can kind of start it with this one, but again, good to see everybody here on this Tuesday. I guess the lesson for the superintendent is nothing gets parents more upset, nothing gets talked about faster than sex education.
Yep.
What started out as an effort to overhaul the district's sex ed curriculum became really a public relations dilemma for the district, with parents feeling shut out of the process. The superintendent says he hears the concerns and is promising to change how the district proceeds. This came out from the district. It is his letter of apology about how all of this has been carried out, and really quite an extraordinary letter when you read it. He's really throwing himself on the sword here.
Yes, for forgiveness.
It is. I'm asking our community to forgive how we handled this situation. You know, one of the things that's really kind of an issue here is he's saying that they should have had public sessions right off the get-go. And just to give you some background on here, remember, they had started this whole thing in terms of overhauling the sex ed curriculum by having an invited panels of parents in to talk about it and just say, hey, what would you like to kind of see or hear, and that type of thing. They also use as a foundation for the discussions a document from an organization called the Sexuality Information and Education Council. And once people, that thing right there, once people got a look at that, they found some of the stuff in there somewhat questionable or worried kids could get.
Right, and we have to also understand that this is one of many possible proposals that will go towards the legislative session in 2015. If you look at the bill draft requests that are already submitted, there's already a half a dozen that deal with education. So whether if we keep discussing this exact proposal or not, parents should still go down to these meetings and voice their opinions, because it's not going to stop there.
I think the superintendent, I don't know that he has anything to apologize for. People make mistakes. And it seems to me, if you read the letter he wrote, he might have a little complaining in his ear from the trustees, and they're the elected officials. A couple of them are running right now, and it's obvious that to me anyway, that he did this to protect the trustees as well. When I think what they're doing, you know, set aside the way they did it, but what they're trying to do, move from abstinence-only education to comprehensive sex education, that's the right thing to do.
But you know what's interesting is that in this letter he points out that they already teach some form of sex education in grades 5, 8, and then in high school. Why don't we just start 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if there's such a big concern?
Well, that's what we need to decide as a community, and that, you know, the difference between abstinence only and comprehensive sex education. Abstinence only, any study I looked at shows that what it leads to is more unintended pregnancies, which nobody wants, and more abortions. And wherever you are on the abortion issue, if there are fewer abortions,
the
that's a good
situation here is the parents aren't saying abstinence only. Some parents actually want to only have it discussed at home. Now, for the parents who are open to have it,
they can opt out.
For the parents who want to have it discussed at the schools, then it's not just abstinence only, but they want to make sure that it's not too much too soon.
Let me just show, I want to bring something up here, and I want to take a look. We're going to pull this. I thought this was probably one of the most interesting lines of the superintendent's letter. The document as a whole does not align with the values of many members of our community. He's referring to that list of discussion points from that organization I told you about, so we will not use it in the future. Here's my question. Does not align with the values of many members of our community. How do we know that? I mean, who's driving the moral bus here, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think he was responding to the loudest voices, those that were complaining. And this will be controversial, whatever the policy ultimately is that's adopted. But let me read you some of the organizations, and this is just a partial list, that have found that comprehensive sex education, where you teach something other than saying, just don't do it, these are the organizations that say that's the best thing for kids. American Psychological Association, the American Medical Association, National Association of School Psychologists, Academy of Pediatrics, American Public Health Association, the Society for Adolescent Medicine, and Amy's getting bored, so I'll only read one more, American College Health Association. Academics that have looked at this and people that have studied it says that they all say that Nevada needs to move to a better form of sex education.
While reform and some changes may be needed, throwing in everything, including the kitchen sink, is not necessary. If you do too much too soon, that's also damaging. You know, if you have innocence being lost versus being naive, those are two totally different subjects, and we have to make sure that we are not damaging children by giving them information at too early of an age.
I agree with that. And that proposal started talking about giving kids information in kindergarten that maybe they shouldn't receive that, if ever.
Yes.
Well, are liberals and progressives going to be listened to in this process, or will conservatives be driving?
No, I think it's important to keep the conversation flowing, because this isn't necessarily about liberal versus conservative. This is about parents who care and parents who want to make sure that their children are getting the necessary tools.
And there'll be differences, and that letter referred to what our values are as a community. The way you find out what your values are as a community is by having a conversation.
So I think that the big problem was by having the invitation-only panel in the first place. You should have had it open.
And make sure you watch News 3, where we are trying to talk to the superintendent. On my 3 p.m., I'm going to have his chief of staff on the program.
Oh, good.
Kirsten's here, so that'll be a very interesting discussion. Again, that's News 3 Live at 3. Anyway, keep being ticked off about stuff. We've got a lot more to talk about. Stay with us. Well, that says it all. Ticked Off Tuesday. We've just scratched the surface. I'm going to begin with you. What's under your skin?
Okay, well, the Nevada Policy Research Institute, which is one of my favorite go-tos.
I know.
Every 2 years, they issue out what's called the Nevada Piglet Book. Here's a copy. This is 2014's version. And if you go through all of these pages, it doesn't leave out a conservative, it doesn't leave out a liberal. It will call you out in 2.2 seconds if you've done something wrong, illegal, you name it under the sun. Just a couple of the examples. 1, sending unemployment benefits and welfare payments to dead people. Yes, that was happening here in Nevada.
Not good.
Another one, traffic division employees voiding citations after payment and pocketing the money. There's multiple instances, and it's so sad.
If it makes you so mad, just stop reading.
All right, you go next.
The invisible candidates. I've talked about this before. The state senate will be decided who controls the state senate will be decided by what happens in a couple of districts. The Republican candidates, Becky Harris and Patricia Farley, are invisible. Nobody knows where they are. The state Democratic Party put out a video that even Amy will laugh at. They approached Becky Harris and asked her a couple of questions, where she was on background checks, what she thought of abortion, and you're watching it. She turned around and ran. She had that guy with the beard. I don't know who he is.
She's not running. She's casually walking.
If you're running for the state senate, if you're running for anything in Nevada, and somebody asks you a question, you need to take a position. You don't run away. I don't understand what the strategy is about, and I think as more light is shed on it, I'll be less mad, because these people are going to continue to make fools of themselves by running from questions.
The Terrence Group did issue out a poll today showing that both Patricia Farley and Becky Harris are beating their Democrat opponents.
I think that might change, and it's a Republican polling group.
You understand that. I mean, don't take a position.
I understand it. It's political expediency, but it's
I'll leave this for you to read later.
No, they're hoping that people think that they are what their commercials say they are. They should stand up and tell the world what they are.
Democrats did the same thing with Shirley Breeden and Allison.
2008.
And they were wrong then. I wasn't on a TV show then. I am now, and this is wrong. They need to talk.
All right.
That's fair.
There
They
you
need
go.
to say what they think.
All right, you're next.
Yes, Joe Biden, we had the pleasure, if that's what you'd like to call it, of having him visit our lovely city yesterday, and he was touting, let's raise the minimum wage. Well, I thought it was interesting. There was a video that's now going around on the internet of a Hispanic gentleman, and you can tell that English is his second language, but his concern and his passion and his heart for small business owners, he sat down and he expressed to the vice president how this is going to hurt. And you also have to take into consideration that we are a huge town that also makes money off of tips. So I don't know if the rest of the nation really understands that that is also a main way that a lot of the people here make their living. So it's not just saying, hey, it's easy as raising it to 10 or easy as saying, let's raise it to 15. There's taxes to be paid. This will put businesses under. You can't do this overnight.
Consumer economy will be improved if people have more money in their pocket. This would be a good thing for everybody, not just the people that get more money so they can live a good life. Can I give my last one?
You certainly can. Go right ahead.
My daughter showed me this. 1 in 5 college, and if you're not ticked off about it, you should be. 1 in 5 college women experience a sexual assault at some point during their time in college. And there are 78 colleges and universities in the United States of America under investigation currently for how they deal with allegations of sexual assault. This Ray Rice thing brought light to the domestic violence issue, and I think that we need to continue to talk about the ways that women are under assault in our country, and this is just another. Young women and college campuses aren't safe. 20% of them are subject to a sexual assault, and we need to do something about it as a country.
That is an issue. All right. You know, it's sad but true, but here in our country, in our very own state, in our city, people are being bought, sold, smuggled like modern-day sex slaves. Up next, we're going to talk with Assemblyman John Hambrick about what's being done to fight human trafficking. All right, welcome back, everybody. As I talk to you right now, there's a young girl or maybe a young man being sexually trafficked here in Las Vegas. Human trafficking is a big problem. It happens here, and the man at our table would like to do something about that. We're joined today by Assemblyman John Hambrick. Assemblyman, welcome. Thanks for coming back in our program.
Yes, and also welcome back to the United States. You've been gone for the last few days. Could you tell us where exactly were you and why?
Well, people better pull out their maps and start looking at it. I was at Baku, Azerbaijan. If you have a globe, Las Vegas up here, Azerbaijan is right there. We're 12 hours difference.
Wow.
So we're exactly on the opposite side of the world. There was an international conference on human trafficking in many other topics, and I was privileged to be on a panel involving trafficking.
What did you hear there? Does Nevada need to do something about its policy?
Oddly enough, we were never mentioned. Because, and on a serious note, human trafficking is worldwide. And the ISIL, which we're hearing now on many issues, and several other of the radical, and there are many Islamic leaders at the conference, and they use the term radical Islam. So I know our president, who I'm not very fond of, as you know, refuses to use the term radical Islam. But within their ranks, they use radical Islam. They are using trafficking as a weapon of terror, because ISIL and its first and second cousins would go into villages and take these young women, and if the leaders do not comply with their wishes, their daughters are gone and sold into the international human trafficking market.
Last legislative session, there was AB 67 that had some, pretty significant penalties if a pimp convicted. It's potential that they could serve life in prison, and they had to forfeit money earned and a number of other things. Do you think we did enough last legislative session as a state?
Catherine Cortez Master, the Attorney General, that was a yeoman's job. She did a great job. She took some of the legislation I had forward in prior legislative sessions, and she added other things, and it's a great start. I hope we could do more. I'm firmly involved. The civil and criminal penalties are nice, but as I said before, one of the Senate committees, what we left off was flogging. And got a feeling ACLU would not enjoy that.
Was there anything that you learned on the international level that Las Vegas could actually implement?
We did not talk about individual things, but I firmly believe now, more than did so before, that the human trafficking market in the United States is connected to Europe, in Eastern Europe. There is a direct connection, because in Las Vegas we see our victims coming from south of the border, the Pacific Rim, and the runaways. But worldwide, there is a central point, very much like organized crime, and we used to call the mafia and other things like that, and some derogatory terms you stay away from now, and I'm not always politically correct. But this trafficking issue is worldwide, because we're talking, you know, $30 and $40 billion in international monies on that. So
and I don't know if you happened to catch this article in Time recently, but they did point out, they said, don't expect trafficking victims to be foreign. 83% people forced into prostitution in the U.S. are actually from the U.S.
Yes. Yeah. If the article didn't have any pictures, I probably didn't read it.
Yeah.
Well,
oh, jeez.
I mean, obviously this is becoming increasingly on the radar with Catherine Cortez Masto and what happened at the legislature and obviously your World Conference. I mean, do you think that it really is sort of beginning to sink in with people that this is in fact a real problem here and that we really do have to do something about it?
It's beginning to, and I do not want to make too light of this, and I apologize if I sound flippant, but an old term now, the soccer moms. It's amazing how many people in our community are completely unaware of this problem. Mm-hmm. And as much as this forum talks about it in other forums, and it's in the media, in the print and broadcast media, there are still so many people who have no concept of what's happening in the community and the dangers it
I've never heard as much talk about it as I did last legislative session with AB 67. So I'm interested in how you continue the momentum. What are you going to propose? What do we need to do?
Or, believe it or not, it's a complex question, but it has a very simple answer. In my legislation, and when I first got on, and now there's a group in Las Vegas, Nevadans for the Common Good, which is a faith-based organization. And when I first got involved, I went to the faith-based people. I had them in my home talking about this problem, because they came to me, the Catholic Church in the area, and I'm a Catholic, but the bishops sent representatives, and I had the Methodist Church senior bishops come. They want to know who I was and what I was doing, and they saw like an inquisition in my home to make sure I intended to walk the walk and talk the talk. But I believe I had to involve the religious leaders, because they are, regardless of the denomination, they are the ones that are on their pulpits on Sunday and in the mosques on Saturdays in the, you know.
And recently you participated in a fundraising event also to help stop human trafficking at the International Church of Las Vegas, which I also emceed. And you were also part of the documentary with Catherine Cortez Masto. So you are trying.
I am.
You are involved.
I believe, and I don't want to get too dogmatic in this, and we have other issues to talk about, but if we become aware of the issue, and if we're faith-based people, and when our time comes to stand before the Almighty, and we had a problem and did nothing, He's going to ask us why.
Well, what are you encouraging people to do?
Yeah, how can people help? Can we help?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the civil rights movement, or as your father understands and was part of, and I remember watching TV with Ralph Abernathy and Martin Luther King and so many other people, Jesse Jackson's other. We need to have the faith-based community talk to their congregation. The congregation has got to, when I first started this, we had marches down near the Stratosphere, the Lost City area, and we need to have people get involved and say no more. Stop this. When I first got involved, on the crossovers, we had people walking with placards, stop human trafficking. And so we need to continue that. The faith-based community, we are notoriously, our memories are short-lived, politically and many other issues, but this issue has got to stay in front.
I was just going to jump in. We're going to take a break. You're going to get the last word. When we come back, you're watching What's Your Point? Back, we are here with Assemblyman John Hambrick, who has just returned from a conference overseas to fight human trafficking. And my quick question for you, what are some concrete steps you'd like to see come out of the legislature in 2015 that might add on to what we've already been doing?
Well, in your first segment on the show, you talked about sex trafficking. Sex education. Right. And I would like to see our counselors and teachers do more, if it's part of sex, but about trafficking locally, what to watch out for, the young men that try to get these girls into trafficking and things. We need to tell these young women danger, danger, danger.
Yeah, people probably don't know what to look for
the
or
signs
what
are.
to do if they see it.
That's
I
it.
imagine.
So the teachers and counselors are the ones that have to be educated.
Yeah, it is. What kind of session are you looking forward to in 2015?
Oh, I think it's going to be a very tough session, and I'm sure Rory will agree with me. We probably don't agree on much, but I think he'll agree on this one. And the governor has already indicated that we're going to have to raise revenues. The budget looks like it's, the funds will not be coming into the state, the sales tax revenues, things like that we're counting on. And the economic forum said we're not going to get the monies that we had hoped
Hey,
for.
so far we haven't disagreed, you know?
Well, wait a second, Rory. It's not over.
It's almost over. You better hurry.
All right, we'll be watching the 2015 session. Thanks for coming on our program. Always a pleasure having you on here, and as always, we thank you for your time today. We're going to be back here tomorrow. I'm Jeff Gill, and this is What's Your Point? Take care.
I didn't get my one then.